Hey there guys, my name is Christian Heath.
And I'm Jimmy Denowden, and this is Light Tonight.
Let's go. The Goo Goo Dolls are on the road with lighting designer Dan Hardiman managing to steal the video budget into lighting with the use of Ayrton Magic Panels. Driven by the Hog4's new pixel mapping capabilities, Dan knew he could use the Magic Panels as both video and wash lights. In fact, apart from a few Mac Auras under the risers, they are the only wash fixture in the rig. The Hog's mapping ability also drove him to use LED fixtures wherever possible in order to take full advantage. The biggest challenge for Dan was the Magic Panels being able to move. It ended up a similar approach to moving trusses with lots of position palettes and having lots of different maps for the different stage focuses. Dan also managed to use the continuous rotation capability of the Magic Panels to create kaleidoscopic effects with the central pod. The end result is a design that truly blurs the line between lighting and video.
Bizoo is an upscale club in Monterrey, Mexico that operates not only as the cosmopolitan city's newest nighttime destination, but also as a showcase of modern club lighting technology, with a fully immersive design that covers the entire venue. Elation fixtures were used for the dance floor light show, as well as to fulfill the more decorative architectural aspects of the lighting design. Bizoo owners Victor and Emilio Khalifa not only have state-of-the-art lighting to complement the club's modern design and help draw in crowds, they also have an energy-efficient system that will save on power bills and maintenance costs.
MA Lighting presents the MA Network Switch Lighting Networking Made Easy. Designed to simplify the setup and management of today's lighting networks, the MA Network Switch is backed by the industry-leading MA technical support team. Standard lighting terminology is used throughout, allowing most common lighting protocols to be filtered via a web interface designed specifically for lighting technicians. More information on the new MA Network Switch, as well as other MA Lighting products, can be found at malighting.com.
Next, we check out the Roby Square.
Well, Julius, in the spirit of things on steroids, this is the Roby Square, which kind of, to me, looks a bit like the Ayrton Magic Panel, but much, much, much bigger.
It's hip to be square, baby.
Is it?
It is. Now, it goes from 4 degrees to 38 degrees, and with 2 lines of LEDs on, you can get out to 40-something or other.
46, I think.
46.
Yeah.
Very versatile range.
Yeah.
And a circular beam, you may think square, but not.
It doesn't cast a square beam of light, oddly, from its 25 30-watt RGBW LED multi-chips.
And you can run from 20 control channels out to 100 and something.
118. And that
That's
gives you
versatile.
full control over the colour of every individual pixel within the thing. Now, in addition to being able to colour each one of these LEDs individually, you can zoom them in 5 rows of 5,
Yeah.
which you can sort of see we've got going on here. And then in addition to that, there's a beam shapery thing which sort of twists or rotates selected among the engines. I think it's applicable on 9 of the engines, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And look, you can get some pretty interesting effects with this. I think the flip side to that is that it takes a very long time to program.
But there's a lot of channels.
There are a lot of channels, and look, I'm sure that, I know for a fact there are in fact macros included that you can use to pull out some looks quickly.
And look, lighting designers fall into 2 camps. They're all creative, but there are those that will overuse this and take far too long to program it, and there are those that will find brilliant applications for it.
Yeah, and look, I think where this is going to work is when people find the right mix of being able to use it as an effect, and also as a very, very bright wash light, because it's, 30 watt engines is the brightest we've seen at this point in time.
I would love a line of these along the back truss. It would look so awesome.
You could write letters on them.
Why not?
You could pixel map on them.
I could send you a message.
Yeah, and the other thing is the head's got continuous rotation as well. So,
oh, really?
Yeah. So that it does look. It's got a few tricks up its sleeve. I don't know that it's going to be my first choice of go-to light for effects, but that's certainly not to take away from its capabilities, which is that what it is and what it does. It is and does very well.
And it's unique, just like you.
Yeah. When you've got everything else in your lighting inventory possible, this is the obvious next logical choice.
That's cool.
Guy Pavello's design for Drake has to be one of the standout productions of the year. The wow factor comes from 788 glowing balls independently controlled in a 3D space, courtesy of Glow Motion Technologies and Stage Kinetic. Guy describes the show as not just a concert, but an experience, adding that the production team did their best to bring some theatre into the space and combine all elements together. Guy said his biggest challenge was how to fit all of their amazing elements into one show, yet utilize them in a fashion where they each help tell their own piece of the story.
We started the day after Thanksgiving last season, and we went through a couple of different master design phases, and part of his team came forward with the sphere idea that they found, and we took that as another core element. There are 780 spheres and winch combinations that work together via the console. We're using a whole bunch of the Solar Wash LED fixtures to light from above. The UV ring component actually helps change the tint and the colorization of the ball and what's actually going on within it. And that was one of the bonuses out of it. So that was a good component, but also just the amount of power coming out of the head on the LED side of things. We could off shade and off tint the balls themselves, and they actually look brighter than they would be if it's just the LED that's inside of it.
You used to call me on my cell phone, late night when you need my love. Call me on my cell phone, late night when you need my love. And I know when that hotline blink, that can only mean one thing. I know when that hotline blink.
Kochavi and Klein's light installations Reflections of Coexistence was featured in this year's Jerusalem Light Festival, held in the city that many consider the centre of the spiritual world and holy to the 3 monotheistic religions. The light sculpture symbolises the constant change and movement of everyday life in the Middle East. 2 rings of light shine and deflect off mirrors in different directions and pace. There's a constant change on one hand, yet at the same time always around the same axis. The viewer is invited to step back a little and look at the whole picture from different perspectives.
Matrix at the Park is a 7-day music festival held in Nijmegen, Netherlands. Lighting and stage designer Joris Schenk was hired to integrate concert lighting into the complex stage design, featuring a collage of Nijmegen's most famous landmarks. With lots of external decorations on the stage, Joris knew that space would be at a premium. He needed fixtures that were not only powerful but could function in multiple roles on stage. Consequently, he chose Mac Axiom hybrid fixtures because they can provide a very narrow beam, spot and wash all in one fixture.
What extremes did we go to test our Martin Axiom hybrid? Well, we went back to the place where powerful lighting was first needed to give the Axiom hybrid a chance to really shine. The Axiom hybrid's high-precision optical system combines beam and spot functions with short arc lamp technology, delivering consistent, superior performance.
Lighting designer Bruno Poet is well known for his theatre work, but we think his design for Icelandic band Sigur Rós is absolutely stunning. In lighting a show of this nature, the biggest challenge, he says, is the lack of narrative, as nearly all the other work he does is for a production that tells a story, and lighting becomes a part of that storytelling. For Sigur Rós, the lighting is a direct response to the music. The band were keen for a set that would appear to expand and contract with different songs, from intimate to epic, from gentle and lyrical to hardcore and distorted, moving away from the softer and more organic feel of their previous tour.
Great, now it's time to check out the Dallas 860 from Robert Juliet.
Well, Julius, I think it's probably fair to say the Robert Juliet brand is known most widely for their follow spots, which this is not one of.
No, it's a Cyclite.
It is. This is a Dallas 860, and the idea is that with one of these, or one row of these, either a ground row or an overhead row, you can cover up to about an 8.5 to 9 metre cyc. If you do ground row and you do top rig version, you can go up to 14 metres, which is, I think you'll agree, probably higher than most people's cycloramas are ever likely to be.
Has it got a kind of like asymmetric setting?
It does. It is an asymmetric fixture, and if you look in the actual documentation, there's a nice little graph. There's no iPhone app or anything like that to tell you where to put it. There's a graph. You can print it out, a piece of paper. There's a nice little menu system on the back. You can run it in standalone mode if that sort of floats your boat. If you don't want standalone mode, there's ArtNet, there's various other control methods. There's 6 different DMX control protocols occupying somewhere between, I'm going to look this up, 7 channels for mode 5 up to 72 channels for mode 6. Now, why do you need so many channels? It's because the 860 is broken up into 4 different segments or cells, so you can control individual cells. The other nice thing about this is that you can actually, because there's no rigging on the end of these, you can butt multiple units up very close.
Yeah, very nice rigging track on the bottom.
The rigging on the bottom of this is actually, it's like fly track that we're used to seeing on speakers. So you've got some good options for where you hang not only your clamps but also your safety attachment points.
And what are the light engines here?
Now we've got 6 different colours, plus we've got warm and cool white, and that doesn't probably sound like a really big thing to most audio people. Indeed, I was actually pretty surprised, but I was sitting down with a fairly prominent LD, and he was saying that one of the venues he works in, they've just added not only new colour mixing fixtures, but also variable white fixtures into these alcoves, and it gives him so many options for things like pastels. And indeed, if I can do this right, we can go from here. This is just sort of a gentle kind of red thing. I'm going to add in the warm white now.
Yep.
And then I'm going to switch that and add in instead a cool white.
Yeah.
So you can do, the idea is that this is about really nice control, really nice subtle colour. It's got punch when you need it, but I really like the actual white output as well. I think that there's a lot going for this.
Interesting. And how much power consumption, Jim?
300 watts according to the spec. I can't find anything really detailed, but I'd say you could probably hang at
bunch
least
of them
5
off
or
a 10
6
amp circuit,
safely
yeah.
off a 10 amp circuit. So there you go. You can light your whole cyclorama on what, 40 amps easily if you're
Yeah.
doing top and bottom rows.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, so that's the Dallas 860 from Robert Juliet.
Sweet.
The 2016 Singapore National Day Parade was held for the first time at the new National Stadium. LD Mac Chan needed to fill this vast space with light and chose 500 Robi's BMFL luminaires as the main moving lights. This year's theme looked forward to the future and the next 50 years of Singapore. The 6-act plus finale show lasted around 50 minutes and featured a narrative journey from some of Singapore's ancient historic myths to the establishment of the island state, its development and success as a gleaming modern society.
Well, German band The Scorpions are still on their 50-year anniversary world tour with associate LD and lighting operator Manfred Nikitsa from Manic Show Lighting Vienna running the lighting for the current touring schedule together with Rainer Becker. Abandoning the stereotypical 80s rock band look of tons of park hands, the stage is modern and clean with LED masking and large LED screens. With extensive use of video and a trim height of around 10 metres, merging video and lights is extremely important to the look of the stage. The backbone of the system, in other words, one console, the media servers and all the network devices, are all toured. 90% of the time they use local production matched as closely as possible to their generic specification.
teamLab's Crystal Universe is an artwork that uses accumulated light points to create a sculptural body, similar to the way distinct dots of colors form an image in a pointillist painting. In Crystal Universe, the particles of light are digitally controlled and change based on the viewer's interactivity with the work. Viewers are invited to enter and walk around within the three-dimensional light space. This movement affects the light particles and creates changes in the installation. Viewers can also interact with the work by using their smartphones to select elements that make up the Crystal Universe.
So I went to drama school as a stage manager, got a job in the West End almost straight away, very fortunately, and was on a long-running show, ran a year and a half, and then another one ran a year, and I found it very boring. And I found a book in a Samuel French bookshop in London that talked about that in America there was a profession called the lighting designer. And I thought, my God, I could do that. But there wasn't such a business in England. I'm talking 1957. So I thought, well, I'll do it. I'll become a lighting designer and I'll tell the world they need my services. Because the world didn't realize they did because they'd never heard of such a thing. So I had this second idea, which was to start a company, buy, borrow or steal some old lights and rent them cheap and give my services for nothing. And I was lucky. I was at the right place at the right time, and things took off. I think it helps if you like it. I mean, the essence of light, as a lighting designer, is almost like an assistant director. You're trying to bring the whole thing to life. So you have to be really interested in the story and what it's all about and how the author's trying to tell it and what all the rest of the design team are trying to create, because lighting sort of merges all the elements together and you're trying to create a quality of light that brings the stage to life, if you like. Well, drama in the first place, the telling of stories. I mean, I think that's a great way of spending your life, telling stories that entertain, educate, or, you know, enlighten people. That's the first thing. But of course, the behavior of natural light. I mean, light is the most phenomenal part of nature in so many ways. I mean, it conditions our every thought. You know, we wake up in the morning and it's a gloomy, cloudy, horrible day. You're a bit depressed, but if the sun's out, you're happy and cheerful. So light has a very powerful effect through the eye on our brain and our behavior. And manipulating that to help tell stories is a pretty inspiring business. I think I try not to. I think every piece of work, every play demands a different approach. I suspect that one falls back on things that you know can work. I love color, I love richness and texture. And light is three-dimensional. It sort of links the actor to the stage environment. So I hate sort of flat, one-way lighting, if you like. I like it to be three-dimensional and create the air that surrounds the actor. I think I probably started in the age of gas. Well, obviously the computer has changed everything, because I began in the days of, you know, big heavy handles, and I actually once lit a show with water dimmers, water resistance dimmers. That was like the first year I began. But the computer changed everything, and I've been very fascinated by the development of computer control, and have had the good fortune to design some systems myself. But the ability to manipulate light with great speed and rapidity and yet get it back accurately, that's a sort of miracle. And I'm still admit to being surprised by it. Well, I was very lucky very early in my career. I did a show called Blitz, a Lionel Bart musical about World War II, where we had the bombing of London on stage, and that was pretty sensational. So I got a lot of references from that, if you like. I then met Laurence Olivier, and he asked me to be his lighting designer for the National Theatre when the company began. And that was an incredible privilege. So I worked for him for about 10 years, and that led me to become the theatre consultant on the National Theatre, which in turn led to me doing theatre consulting, which is like my second career, sort of all around the world. And I have been phenomenally lucky. As a very arrogant young man, wrote a book, Stage Lighting, which was all about the lighting business. in 1970, and it's still used in teaching sort of all around the world. It even had an edition in China, which was pirated. I often wish I'd worked in the rock scene. My God, they do some spectacular and wonderful things. And people like Willie Williams, a sort of friend. I'd love to have had all those opportunities, but that's a different world and I'm too old for it. So no regrets. I've been bloody lucky. Yeah, well, I'm sort of retired. I'm meant to be retired anyway. I haven't found out actually how to stop. So I'm still involved in some consulting projects and still lighting some things. This My Fair Lady is the first big show I've done for a couple of years now. My next assignment, I'm organising a conference on theatre architecture at the National Theatre in London, the end of October. And much of my life has been about the conflicts and misunderstandings that seem to still exist between theatre and architecture. So I'm involved in this conference. That's my next assignment.
Thanks very much for joining us today, guys.
We hope you've enjoyed the show. If you did, don't forget to give us a thumbs up and share it with your friends.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.